Hi, welcome to If You Live It Conversations, where we're going to talk about transcending the forces of apathy and grief. We're going to talk about God. We're going to talk about the realities of life, truth, miracles, joys, hopes, pains, pressure points, highs, lows, ups, downs, left, rights, every single aspect of this particular topic and set of topics. And in this case, a conversation about apathy and grief, a conversation about transcending these forces, a conversation about aspects of the lower mind, a conversation about surrendering your life over, a conversation about the surrender process. We're here in this episode to kick the ideas around about how to let these two aspects of the lower ego go, how to let go, how to surrender, how to forgive, how to experience the gift of grace, how to come from a place of gratitude, how to be grateful for life, how to go about your daily life in a way where your intent north, your choice to know God, your choice to pursue truth, your choice to connect with the universe, whatever term you want to use, it presents itself as viable, presents itself as an opportunity for you to know more joy in your life, to witness more happiness, to look around and no longer be attached to the content you see filling up your eyesight, filling up your ears, filling up your vision, filling up your bandwidth. The truth about spirituality, which makes it different from religion, is that spirituality is a practical approach, whereas religion is a formal doctrine. It is a dogma to be followed. Both are approaches, both provide pathways. Spirituality gets a bad rap for all kinds of different reasons, mostly because there's no one definable way to explain it. And all this craziness gets lumped into it. Same with religion. Religion at its purest, at its most beautiful. If we look at the religion of Christianity, we see how to serve others. We see the Sermon on the Mount. We see a central figure in Jesus the Christ, with the goal being unconditional love, becoming that, experiencing that, witnessing that, enjoying that reality. If we look at Hinduism and we look at the Gita and we look at Krishna and we look at the story of choice from that perspective, we see a pathway. We see a very particular pathway of inaction versus action. And in reality, when we look deep into the Gita and we look deep into the reality of Krishna, we see love presented as well. And we see the fact that action and inaction are actually one and the same thing. There's no duality, this or that. It's always this and that. There is no evolution versus creation. Evolution is creation unfolding continuously. There is no hot or cold. There is simply the absence of heat. And so on, and so on, and so on, and so forth. When we look at religion, we can think about religion and we can think about science kind of as similar paradigms, as explanations of what's happening around us, as vocabulary, as decisions, as communities. When we look at If You Live It, that's the same thing. It's a pathway, it's a community, it's an explanation, it's an understanding. But it's also a spiritual pathway. Not one where we have dogma and doctrine that you have to follow, but where there are steps logically that take you from one step to another, to another, to another, with the byproducts being a surrendered, forgiven, grateful life. We don't tell you to believe in one religious figure or another. We don't tell you to not have a religion, to have a religion, that you have to use the word God. Any of these things, we don't tell you have to do that. In this reality, in my experience of this lifetime, whether it was undefinable moments that we've tried to capture, and If You Live It, and talk about the reality of the experience of this, of God present as being anything other than immense love, reverberating and bouncing around in every single possible way that it could be felt and experienced and witnessed and absorbed in a moment, or about the reality of God present currently, which is from a life not attached, not averse, where opinions are laughed at, where duality and cause and effect are seen as mechanisms of the ego. There is so much seen and unseen in this life. That's where this word spirituality comes from. That's where this book comes from. If You Live It is a pathway to freedom. Freedom from the ego, freedom from fears, freedom from attachments and aversions and expectations and wants and cravings and desires and everything else that keeps us a slave to this physical body. You don't have to continue with opinions any longer. The world doesn't need them. You don't have to continue with attachments or beliefs. The world doesn't need them. Everything that is of content is an illusion. And as has been stated in the past, the world you see doesn't even exist. Now we're speaking from spiritual truths, which is an interesting jump-off point because truth in and of itself has varying degrees to it. I could say, I'm Mason. That's a truth in a particular level. I'm Mason who's a man. That's a truth at a particular level. I'm Mason who's a man who has a child. That's truth at a particular level. I'm Mason who's a man who has a child who's married with 2 dogs. That's truth at a particular level. Or we can go deeper. I am a spirit physicalized to have an experience of humanness, higher degree of truth. There is a God, truth. In some ways, that God is represented through the figure of Jesus, truth. One way we can know the existence and presence of God is through the experience and witness and observation of love present, truth. God is the Alpha and the Omega, truth. God is represented into the world through the avatar of Krishna, truth. A higher truth is that there aren't even words that we could use that equate to even the single slightest moment of experiencing the divine presence of the Creator. It's a higher degree of truth. Truth in varying degrees. Falsehoods in varying degrees. Bringing us back to apathy and grief. 2 particular characteristics of the lower ego, the lower mind, that keep us a slave to are more base desires. They keep us a slave to some of the lower dredges of what it is to be a human. Apathy is an energy stealer. Grief is something that keeps us stuck in the past. Whenever you have a question about where do I find God, it's not in the past. It's not in lesser energy. It's not out in the future. It's not with the hope of a better tomorrow. It's here, right now, through a choice. Am I going to surrender over the juice that my ego gets from being apathetic, from witnessing and experiencing apathy, and then attaching the belief system to it that I am that feeling, that emotion, those thoughts associated? Am I going to continue harboring thoughts and feelings and attachments to these things about something that's happened in the past, and this worry that I can't change it? You can't change it. You cannot change the past. The only way that you can change the future is by making a choice to move, a choice to forgive, a choice to surrender. When we talk about it from a spiritual sense, you can change the future in any particular way that you so choose right now by setting an intent on it. Your intent to intend. The goal is, with these first 3 chapters of If You Live It, in this particular chapter, transcending the forces of apathy and grief, in chapter 1, transcending the forces of shame and guilt, and as we move into the remainder of what we're going to transcend and then what we're going to embrace, is that these lower levels of humanness, shame, guilt, apathy, anger, fear, grief, resentment, cravingness, desires. Whether it's the Buddha talking about attachments and aversions, whether it's Krishna talking about our duty, whether it's Jesus talking about the meek inheriting the earth, whether it's Lao Tzu talking about the way being mighty indeed, it doesn't matter. It's all God. It's all a single pathway called humanness. We're here to transcend it. We're here to experience life outside of the mind, not governed by it, not run by it. And many who are watching this are probably thinking, the mind, that's what we are. That's what I am. We're not. It's what you think you are. It's what you believe yourself to be. It's what you've put on a pedestal. It's what science says is the ultimate, even though we can't fully experience it. It's the celebration of some aspect of the brain within the scientific realm. It's not. Science is wonderful. Part of my life is about using it to talk about the miracle of the brain and how we can better improve it and be healthier in that aspect. Neurocognition, brain health, brain fitness. These things are wonderful. The brain and the body is this wonderful thing, but it's only a vehicle. It's only a car when you look at it from a particular angle. It's only this thing that allows the experience of physicality. It's not what we actually are. I have never had an experience with the creator of all things where the body was even recognized. At this point, in this day, at this moment, with this video being recorded, I don't even have an association with it. It's just a thing that is witnessed as operating on its own. The words coming from it are not from Mason. Everything getting delivered to you right now is directly from the Holy Spirit, directly from the universe, directly from God, however you want to say it. It doesn't matter. Vernacular is whatever. These words are for you. This video is for you. All you who are finding this, it's for you. This entire channel, the book, the podcast, all of it, it's for you. I don't want anything from you. It's a gift to you. I'm not selling you anything. I don't care if you do it. But there are people out in the world who are desperately looking for a way to find happiness in their life, actual happiness, to be satisfied, to find joy, to be free from pain and suffering. That's what If You Live It is. That's why chapter 2 is important. That's why chapter 1 is important. That's why this pathway follows these steps. Nothing here is talked about from what I hope to be true. As a matter of fact, earlier in life, after having a direct experience with the Creator at age 20, I went out into the world trying to find a way to articulate how to have that experience, how to be that experience. I didn't find it in formal religion. Being a Christian earlier in life, I didn't find it in the religion of Christianity. Diving into the religions of the world from Buddhism, Taoism, Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, I didn't find it in a religion. There are steps you can take in a religion. There are things you can do to be a practitioner of that religion. God is not religion. Two completely different paradigms. Religion can point you in that direction. Science can point you in the direction of the miraculous. Can't explain it. Words can talk around and about a reality. They aren't the actual reality, but it's the closest thing we have to being able to point towards ultimate reality, ultimate truth. This gift of consciousness is the way that we interact with the world. It's the way that this body in physicalized form allows the spirit to have a way to interplay, to exchange with one another, to touch and feel and taste and smell. All illusions. You can use this book to take you all the way to the final doorway to Satchitananda, to realizing the self with a capital S. Or it can help you just get to a place of courage or acceptance in your life where things become easier, or where you become motivation or love or unconditional love. This book can take you all the way to the experience of God immanent in and around you. Or it can just be a place that helps you look at apathy and grief as things no longer worth holding on to. As we continue to provide this information, as we continue to build these videos, pretty soon we'll start interviewing people who have gone through these steps, and they'll be our Wednesday conversations. For the first 3 months, January, February, March of 2025, we'll be releasing these on Wednesdays where I talk to you about the step. I talk to you about the experience of it, the witness of it, how to work it, what it looks like. On Fridays, we have conversations about other topics related to religion and spirituality, God, truth, all of these wonderful things. Monday is a new chapter drops. And then starting in April, we'll start the conversations with people who've gone through these steps. And we'll continue to have conversations on Fridays about religious truths, taken from all over the world, spiritual truths. And we'll keep this going as long as we can. I would love nothing more than to create an environment for everyone watching these videos, everyone listening to this, everyone finding the book, everyone finding ifyouliveit.com and working the steps for themselves, then jumping off with the meetings that will start in April, in person and live online. I want you to have your own experience with God, your own life worth living. I love you. I thank you for being part of this community that's growing by leaps and bounds, to be quite honest, all over the world. Recently, India has come online here. Thousands of people are finding this. Across the United States, thousands of views. Recently, just one of our posts, a video, just a shorty that's pointing back to a conversation we've already had, has crossed 25,000 views. The YouTube page is continuing to grow with over 2,000 subscribers in a little over 10 days. Facebook has grown to over 8,000 people with this, watching this journey, being part of it. The Instagram page, my personal one, has had over 40,000 people look into it over the last 30 days. It's all about this content. It's all about delivering God to you. Let's reach 100,000. Let's reach 1 million. Let's help the world know about this pathway, this workable, definable pathway that's a byproduct of the Gita, that's a byproduct of Jesus, that's a byproduct of Buddhism, that's a byproduct of Taoism, that's a byproduct of truth and life and the 12 steps and the consciousness research of David R. Hawkins and the applied work of Byron Katie and so many more that we'll dive into and we'll get to know and we'll work through for ourselves. I'm so excited for this opportunity to see what continues to happen, to see the growth that continues, to start hearing from you, to see you be part of the meetings, to see who starts their own meetings around the world, to see how If You Live It gets put in libraries and bookshelves, and then deliberate devotion the same, and how it finds itself on coffee tables, leave behinds, how the world is forever changed by the truth that's coming from all of this. And we'll continue to promote it. We'll continue to talk about it. We'll continue to deliver you this content as long as I can. And then we'll see what the world does with it. But it really doesn't matter what the world does with any of this because it's about what you do with it. It's about how it becomes part of your life. It's about how you make a single choice to choose God, to choose truth. And maybe for the first time, you found something that's an actual pathway that helps you into a life of integrity, a life of courage, a life of acceptance, a life of motivation, a life of joy, a life of love, of unconditional love, a victorious peace, of enlightenment even. All of these are realities that are possible. They're not made up. But because they fall in this world of spirituality, some can poo-poo it. Some can look at it as lesser. But I look at it as an opportunity for me to serve God by serving you, and for you to serve God and the world by serving yourself and making the choice to transcend apathy and grief. Chapter 2, If You Live. Much love.